I'm going to be sitting opposite Felicity Kendal for the next hour, which will make me the envy of just about every man over 40 in Britain.
Well, he's a sexy, naughty man, which is always attractive to be around.
Felicity Kendal's used to performing on stage, but that's always other roles. What she's not used to doing, because she's hardly ever done it, is do a television interview about her life. And that's what makes tonight potentially really fascinating.
I suppose I'm looking forward to finding out a few things that I didn't know and he does.
She played this squeaky clean character on screen, whereas off it there were lashings of, well, let's be honest, sex.
Now, Piers, we're not going to hurt each other tonight, are we?
Now, Felicity Kendal, at the height of your fame in the 1970s, it was said that half the male population in Britain was secretly in love with you, and the other half were quite open about it.
That's a good start.
How did you feel about that kind of statistic?
I loved it. I loved it. There's nothing wrong with being appreciated.
You were like
Really,
the thinking man's crumpet was your big tag.
I think, you know, to be honest, it wasn't me, it was the character. This was let's say, The Good Life. Barbara, she was written to be the thinking man's crumpet, and I just happened to get the job.
I mean, I was about 13 when The Good Life really became a huge show, going through a difficult stage of any young man's life, and you were like my secret pin-up.
Why secret?
Well, because I couldn't tell anybody, I was too embarrassed.
Okay.
But now it's finally out there.
Now it's out there.
Now I'm less embarrassed by the whole thing. There were millions of people like me all over the country. They were all going crazy.
Yeah, well, it was I was very happy. Well, I wasn't happy all the way through my life at that point, because the private bit wasn't always good, but the public bit, it was a wonderful time. People would come up and say, I adore you, and the men would like me, women would like me, because of that character. And I was forever getting in a taxi saying, oh, I have been in love with you. But now I get in the taxi and it's, well, my dad was in... and he's dead.
So it was great being a sex symbol, but
yeah.
does it get tough?
Well, it wasn't. I wasn't really a sex symbol.
Oh, you were.
Was I? Oh. Well, a sort of unlikely one, I think.
Do men still go weak at the knees in your presence?
I hope so.
Wobbly?
I don't know about wobbly. Actually, probably more wobbly now.
I know it's not polite to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Oh, go on.
I'm going to ask a lady her age, and the sole reason I'm doing this is I think people will be shocked by your answer. So
I've got two answers, and you can tell me the right one.
Well, let's try. Let's see if you're going to be truthful.
Am I 64 or 65? I can't remember.
You're neither of those.
I'm 63.
Well, actually, to be fair...
I can't be 70, I know that.
To be
fair... I have a much bigger present.
To be fair, tonight I think you're 65.
No.
But when it airs, you'll be 66. She looks bloody good for 66, right?
I'm amazing.
What made it very cool to me was when, at the age of 63, you decided to have your first tattoo.
Yes, I did.
You rock chick, you.
I'm a rock chick.
Now, how many have you got?
2.
And what are they?
OK.
And where are they?
Well, you know, that's brave, isn't it?
One I can see here.
One's there, that's a heart. Mm-hmm. And then here, I've got...
What's a star? Is that a heart?
Sorry, it's a star. I wouldn't tell the truth. And that's a moon with 2 feathers.
And what does that denote?
OK. The star is my youngest son.
Oh, OK.
It's for him. And the moon is my eldest son. And these 2 feathers are my 2 grandchildren.
Ah.
And it's sort of Native American... The feathers fly, eagles, you know, soaring.
Are you going to go any further? You're going to have the whole Beckham back tattoo?
No. I want a turtle here, but I haven't found the turtle yet.
Why did you do it? What does it make you feel?
I don't know. I was with a girlfriend, and she had this thing, and she did this, and I thought, that's so fun. I just thought I would. I really didn't think it through very seriously. And I think... But I know why I'm doing it now is because I know where the wrinkly bits are. I know where not to put one because it'll have a little curtain.
Where are
Where are the wrinkly bits?
Well, we're not going to upset anyone about that. But
I'm just curious. I mean...
Curious. Well, I mean, there are things right, I mean, you wouldn't, at my age, have one on your tummy, because then it could be hidden, you know. and somewhere here may not be so good. But there are other bits, like shoulders, that don't actually... They sort of stay flat, and you need it flat,
They don't wrinkle.
I think. They don't wrinkle and they don't get larger. And there was that thing, wonderful thing, somebody had a kitten on her bum and it ended up as a tiger.
For your 50th birthday, you decided to put on a magnificent performance, and we have a picture of this, I believe.
That was very good. That's very good. Now,
Is
I'm
it
not
Esquire
bad, is
magazine?
it? It certainly is.
And you are completely starkers.
No, I've got my heels on. And it's this wonderful photographer, Alistair. He said, well, how would you see it? I say, covered in Monoloblahnic shoes, I said, thinking that I would have very little showing. Anyway, I turned up in the studio and said, I've got this blue pole. And I said, well, where am I supposed to be behind that? He said, no, I practiced last night with my wife. I said, well, you did. He said, it's all right. You stand at a certain angle and it's all perfectly polite.
Let's take a look back at how you became one of the country's best-loved actresses.
It may be bizarre, Jenny, but it's a good life.
Felicity Kendal, the nation's favourite girl next door, who made self-sufficiency sexy.
Felicity could make a pair of dungarees sexier than most slinky dresses.
Hello, Grubby.
Hello, dear.
She's very, very funny.
She's absolutely the girl next door, but you also sense that there's a real tiger in there that could show you a thing or two.
Sensuous, I would say, yes. Definitely sensuous.
Felicity made her stage debut in 1947 at just 9 months old. Over 6 decades later, she's appeared in more than 70 plays and 30 TV series.
I have to tell you something. It might make you change your mind.
I think she's one of our greatest actresses.
If you deny what is happening, how can I talk to you?
It's extraordinary. She's one of those actresses who was a hit in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s and up to today.
But it was her role as homegrown housewife Barbara Good in the 1970s sitcom The Good Life which made Felicity one of TV's biggest stars.
When that theme tune started, you would just rush into the sitting room to watch it because it was hilarious.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't really have come round here like this.
Heavens above, dear, we're old friends. What does it matter? Lift up and then put you.
The Good Life became one of the most popular TV comedies of all time, with a third of the nation's population tuning in every week.
She was warm, sexy, and there wouldn't be a man, a red-blooded man in the country, who wouldn't have wanted to change places with Dickie Bryant.
Are we the happiest Tom and Barbara in the world?
Easily.
Barbara and Tom portrayed such a happy life.
Off-screen, Felicity was married to Drew Henley, who was also an actor. They'd met when she was 20 and by the 70s had a young son, Charlie. On screen, Felicity was a picture of marital bliss.
Our trowels touch them.
I know.
But as The Good Life became ever more popular and Felicity became a household name, her real-life marriage began to unravel.
I just know that she was unhappy and that it wasn't working.
I think for her it was tremendously hard and tremendously taxing and emotionally devastating, really.
Their problems became even worse when Drew was diagnosed with depression.
Fu called me up and said that, you know, Drew wasn't well at all. And she sounded really hassled and worried.
She had a very, very hard time with him. I mean, maybe a slightly frightening time with him.
After 11 years of marriage, the couple divorced.
It was ironic that she should be presented as this absolutely seamlessly happy person in the show and was going through this kind of hell.
It's the old clown story, you know, going out on stage and making people laugh, and he's just tragic inside.
My television wife, the delicious Felicity Kendal.
You know, you can have it all, it appears, but not. If your private life, if your domestic life is catastrophic, then what's it all worth? You know, what's it all for?
It's a good question, isn't it? I mean, when you were going through that, you had this extraordinary double life going on screen, perfection, marital bliss, off-screen, deteriorating into, as Simon said, they're catastrophic.
It was a very, very painful time. I think I was very young in all sorts of ways. I'd grown up in India with my family. I was with my parents, my sister, the company, morning, noon and night, every day of my life till I was 17. And I arrived as a really green person in England. I did a couple of jobs and then I did a two-hander, which was a love story, with Drew. And I just fell completely in love with him. He was gorgeous in every conceivable way, incredibly funny. And we had this real, genuine love affair.
Was he normal?
Completely normal. But I think even in those days, looking back, I probably would have thought he was a little bit hyper sometimes. But people that have this illness are actually very, very attractive because their brain is like this when they're up. I mean, they do go down, sadly, and have a terrible time, but they are whizzing when they're whizzing. And, I mean, I would not now, looking back at it, it was terrifying because I think if anybody, when you're older and you have to deal with somebody who has a mental illness, it actually is very frightening.
He got diagnosed with manic depression eventually. Was it a very emotionally draining experience for you?
I think you experience a kind of agony and a helplessness when you're dealing with somebody who's mentally ill that is not the same as when they've got an illness that is something that they can get better from. It's just a terrible thing, and I was very, very, very in love with him, and he was very in love with me, and it was a very sad breakup in the end.
How hard was it for you as a young, incredibly successful actress in The Good Life?
I think one of the things about our business, and probably very much the same with yours, I don't know, is that you have to concentrate on what you're doing in order to do it. And so you can't be thinking. You leave yourself behind anyway, and you come in a professional way. And remember, I'd been working since I was 9, so I knew switch work.
Did the others all know what you were going through?
Yeah, I don't think they knew in detail, but they certainly knew, yes, because, I mean, if they ever met him, they knew he was having a problem.
Did it make you...
I sort of erased a lot of it, you know, Piers, to be honest.
Have you stayed in touch with him?
Oh, yeah, well, yes, we have a son together.
Let's talk about the comedy series that made you famous. 18 million people watched The Good Life.
Did they really?
A third of the British population. Every week would
Well, they had nothing else in those days. It was 2 or 3. And you had to get up and walk and put it off.
Why do you think... I mean, incredible statistics came out of it. 51,000 people applied to have their own allotment because of The Good Life.
Yeah, I know.
Sad people.
Sad people.
Watching you
and
falling
also,
over in your dungarees.
In my dungarees. And also, it's all pretend. The pigs weren't pigs for it. They weren't pigs. And the chickens were sort of actors. And I did get a letter once because I think there was a goat called Geraldine, and I had to milk Geraldine, and I did.
Famous scene.
Very well. I'm well known for milking Geraldine. And we got this letter. How disgusting that this is clearly not a female goat. This is a billy goat. How can the BBC not get... Well, it wasn't a billy goat. I wasn't doing that to a billy goat. That's how intensely...
Are you sure, Felicity?
Well spotted all those years ago. Oh, dear. No, but, I mean, it was not real, you know, and then people went off. And sometimes we got letters that were really rather cross, saying, well, we've tried this for a year and it's absolute bollocks. It's a comedy show, don't blame me.
Why do you think it was so successful? One theory I've had put to me was that you were all great friends off camera.
I think, first of all, script. Really, really, really good script. And they wrote really cleverly for us. And we all got on. We genuinely became close close friends.
You've talked about everyone being a bit in love with each other on the set and how there was open flirtation, and we now know you socialise a lot off set. I mean, did anything ever...
Not at all, and I think...
No little frisson between you and...
we were all attracted to each other. And I think that was part of the success.
And how did this manifest itself?
Well, it manifested in that every weekend, when we were filming, on the Sunday, or I can't remember which day we had off, probably another Monday, we would go in rotation to one of our houses with our partners, or sometimes without, depending on who was available, and have a meal together, or we would all go out for a curry. And Penny nearly killed us one day with her kidney bean soup. And we literally, all four of us were... Is it just me, or am I dying, or are you dying with me? So we're all dying.
Do you ever watch The Good Life?
Do you know, I watch
catch it by accident?
If I catch it by accident, oh, that's rather good.
Let's go back to where it all began for you. Felicity and Kendal, you were born in Alton, Warwickshire in 1946. Your parents, Geoffrey and Laura, were both actors, and you had an older sister, Jennifer. You made your stage debut at just 9 months old as a changeling in Midsummer Night's Dream.
Yeah, in a basket, I believe. I can't actually remember.
Describe your parents to me. What was your father, Geoffrey, like?
He was a bit of a maverick. He was a conscientious objector, but that didn't go down very well, so he decided they would go... This was during the war, before I was born. They would go to India and play to ENSA.
The Army Entertainment Corps.
And he left the family, his family here, went off. He fell in love with India and decided that is going to be his life. He's going to go back after the war with me when I was a little girl later, and he would just live the life of an actor touring randomly.
When you were 6 years old, your parents decided to relocate permanently to India, as you said, and set up their own touring theatre company. You and your sister, Jennifer, she was 18 there, joined in. I mean, you became this troupe, this family troupe.
Yes, absolutely. Well, because we just went to work, basically. I mean, he had his little group of family, and he had a job to do, and we worked in the family firm.
Who taught you to read and write?
My mother taught me to read and write. And I used to go to convents. So I went to 13 convents in rotation with different uniforms.
And you learned to be bilingual in Hindi?
Well, yes, because I was a young person, 6, and you pick up the language. And
you still speak it?
Absolutely.
Oh, give me a bit of Hindi.
हम अभी कुछ नहीं बोलेंगे.
Pardon?
Yes, exactly.
You're saying it. Go on. Tell me a bit more.
I've got to say this like this. आप बहुत अच्छा आदमी है.
Is that deep?
No, that's nice.
Your father was clearly a very creative, expressive man. You've said that. Very opinionated, principled guy. Did he ever show affection towards you? Was he loving in that sense?
He was very North Country, and there was a pat on the back. But the love for his family and his affection and his sense of humour was a terribly passionate man, and he was a man of extremes, but totally dedicated, and he believed that this was a good life he was giving his daughters. I mean, the passion occasionally spilled over into unpleasant, as he could be violent. I think he could be, but in a sense, you've got to look at it at that period of time where, you know, somebody, you know, throwing the toast in your face at breakfast was probably a little more acceptable. We weren't so politically correct as we are now. Whereas
you don't remember seeing them in a physical fight?
No, I don't remember them in a physical fight. I remember seeing my mother once. She had a bloody nose, and because I think I don't know, she shouted at him. But I don't think back and think, my God, there was nothing abusive about this relationship. This was a volatile, incredibly passionate relationship.
Felicity, as we've heard, you didn't exactly have a conventional childhood. At the age of 6, Felicity moved with her family from England to India, where her parents, Geoffrey and Laura, formed a touring theatre company.
When Shakespeare played, the stage was bare, of temple, palace, fount or fair.
She grew up backstage. She grew up on tour.
The family's nomadic and chaotic lifestyle meant that young Felicity had few friends. Her main companion was her sister Jennifer.
There was a 12-year gap, and she was almost like a mother as well.
They were just best buddies. And they were best friends. They were very, very, very close.
Until she was 17, India and travelling theatre were all Felicity had ever known. Then a family friend, film director James Ivory, had an idea which was to change her life.
I came to know Felicity and her parents, and I thought at that time I'd love to make a movie with her. Why not do a story about a group like the Kendals traveling around India?
The film was Shakespeare Waller. It was released around the world, and Felicity had top billing.
There's rosemary. That's for remembrance. Pray you love. Remember.
That introduced her, Felicity, to the public.
Oh, let it be. It doesn't matter.
But I'm an actress. I have to be seen.
I mean, because they loved her. I mean, they thought she was absolutely great.
It's still today considered a classic.
That's why she dared to come back to this country and see how she could work in the future.
The film's success gave Felicity the chance to launch her acting career. Aged 18, she returned to her native England to try her luck and soon landed her first big break, a TV debut opposite the legendary John Gielgud.
Actually, you look a bit like a frog.
I don't look in the least like a frog.
You're like that frog that puffs itself up when it's in danger.
When I first met Felicity, I knew at once she was going to be a great star.
He's probably afraid you will take advantage of me in some way.
Are you afraid of that?
I'm not experienced in the world.
Felicity's career took off. She found fame in The Good Life, and by the 1980s, she'd become one of Britain's favourite comedy stars.
You think that's all I want, that stupid body of yours? It's taken you over. Well, look at it, you can't even zip it up properly.
Back in India, her sister Jennifer had married Indian actor Shashi Kapoor, one of Bollywood's biggest stars. Jennifer and Shashi had raised 3 children, and the couple starred together in a string of hit films.
She married the most handsome guy in India, possibly in the world. She threw herself into Indian life.
But then came tragic news for the Kendal family. In 1982, as Felicity began work on a new play, she heard that Jennifer had been diagnosed with terminal cancer.
She foolishly thought she had amoebic dysentery for 8 months or something, and then finally got diagnosed as cancer of the colon.
We knew she was going. She was ill for a while, and she suffered a lot.
My mother was 50 when she died. I was 16, my brothers were 6 and 8 years older than me.
Jennifer and Felicity were extraordinarily close, and Jennifer died slowly and very, very painfully of cancer, and so, of course that was just heartbreaking.
For Felicity especially, it must have been tough because she was more than just a sister.
When my mum died, I think Fu was, in a way, alone.
A desperately sad period in your life, obviously. This is your sister. When you look back on it, the moment you discovered she was seriously ill, what impact did that have on you and the family?
I just felt afraid, actually. I just felt absolutely terrified. If you sort of put it together in the background of our lives together, we didn't have the usual base, which resulted in, you know, the local friends that are always there for you, the people that have been there regularly. We had the family unit. When one of the main pillars went earlier than, I mean, not my parents, that's natural. It really was as if, you know, it was catastrophe in the sense that, to us, like an earthquake, it's like everything is tumbling down, not just the fact that you're losing somebody. And, you know, it's fate, whatever happens, happens. But I think finally, the worst thing for me, and it still is actually, is her children. I mean, there are degrees of people, you know, everybody has parents, but there are degrees of involvement. And she was one of those people that was right in there with everybody's lives. It really made a difference that she wasn't there, because it was like the light went out. and there was a hole. And I think, I was in the couple of days before she died, and I said, we know what's going to happen. And she said, I don't mind about me, it's just who's going to look after my children.
Did it change your outlook on life?
I mean, I think it really did change me. I think I became much tougher. I mean, I remember when she died, waking up and it must have been nearly, maybe more than a year, and I would wake up crying because I just couldn't believe she wasn't there. But after that, I then just thought, right, now you must live in the now. Also, when I got to be 50, I thought, my God, she never made it. It's probably why I took all my clothes off tonight. I'm here.
Yeah.
Let's live.
When you were 18, after the success of Shakespeare Waller, you decided to try your luck in Britain.
I'd made this film with Merchant Ivory, and the film went to the Berlin Film Festival, and there was an offer to go with the film. And I thought, well, I haven't been since I was 6. I have no idea what it's like. I mean, we had not been back at all. I thought, well, I'll go. And what's more, when I get there, I'm going to try and work. Because
the father wasn't very amused, was he?
He was totally shocked and horrified and angry and abusive.
How dare one of you do to him
He hated it.
what he'd done to you?
Yeah, exactly, absolutely. No, but he genuinely thought it'll be a disaster. Why did I want to go back to potty little England, which was poverty-stricken and you won't get a job?
It's the swinging 60s.
Yeah.
Did you get stuck in?
No. I was so naive. The 60s just swung by. And I used to go to, every now and again, somebody would ask me to these parties where people would disappear into sort of little bits, being young, or upstairs in amongst the coats on the bed. And I'd think, this is very weird. I don't know anybody here. I'll go home.
As you became this huge success in The Good Life, what did your parents make of that? Did they suddenly realise the gamble you'd taken had paid off?
What I did at the same time, I can't remember the dates, but during that period, I was also doing theatre. So I was also doing the things that they thought, yeah, OK, you're going to Oxford, you're working with some good directors, so, OK, we'll let you do the telly nonsense. By then, we were back on track, and they were pleased with what I was doing.
Your father, he had a number of strokes in the 90s before he died. As he was dying, you nursed him, and you were very attentive to him.
Well, my mother died. My dad, who had not spent more than maybe 7 nights away from her in his life, fell in love with his nurse, who was looking after him. And they had a really wonderful 2 years. My mother would have killed him, but she was dead, so she couldn't. And then, unfortunately, he had another stroke. So basically, he was in a coma for, I think, nearly 18 months to 2 years.
Could he communicate at all with you?
They said not.
Nothing.
I think, looking back, that he could hear. I don't think his brain was dead. He hadn't seen Kunal, who was my sister's eldest, and he adored him. He adored all the children, but he was the first grandchild. So of all, mine included, he was the one. And he hadn't seen him, and he came to England to come and see his dad. And my dad was there, and Kunu came in and held his hand and said, I'm Kunu. And the tear just came right down my dad's face. So I think he knew.
You must have been at it like a rabbit.
I had a wonderful time.
Is there anything quite like the buzz of a live
There's
audience?
nothing like it.
Better than sex?
No.
So I knew you'd say that. Because,
Well, did you?
Yeah, because in an interview in 2010 with the Daily
I might
Mail...
have changed my mind since then.
Well, this was only 2 years ago.
Well, I know, but time goes fast.
You said you can't live without sex.
I don't think... Well, I mean, I think if you're a monk...
Well, the reason I want to press you on this, because in the 1970s, having missed the swinging 60s, I've got a little suspicion that you turned it into the swinging 70s, because you split from your first husband and said that after that you were never without a love affair, never alone, never single.
No, that's true.
So you must have been at it like a rabbit.
No. It's a very short space of time.
How do you plead?
I had a wonderful time.
It's not a denial.
No, it's not a denial. I had a wonderful time, and I having had, a sort of slightly slow start, I then just fell in love with people, and I was really happy.
Well, I mean...
And I am still friends with, unless they're dead.
How many of them?
But, you know, I can't count. That would be rude, I might forget something.
Wait, would you say you were promiscuous in that period?
Promiscuous, my definition is that you're sort of either two at the same time or...
Really?
You know, oh, yes. Isn't it?
I don't think so. It can mean one after
or
another.
one after another, or a one-night stand, or that sort of thing. No, but I think this... You see, I believe, Elizabeth Taylor, you fall in love, and then that's not promiscuous.
How many men did you fall in love with?
You know, there's a line in the play I'm in, but the average number.
What is the average number?
Exactly, that's another line in the play. 4 or 5. I don't know, I really don't know. I mean, it's not 20, so that would be promiscuous.
You met your second husband, Michael, when he directed you in a play. Was it love at first sight?
No. I'm trying to think. No, it wasn't. No.
I mean, it either is or it isn't.
No, well, it wasn't then, was it? No, it wasn't. As I worked with him during the rehearsal, I just went completely wallop.
You did. You married in 1983, and you even converted to his faith, Judaism. Must have been a big thing for you to do.
It was actually nothing to do with him. It was simply to do with something that I felt was right for me. And it's a much more Eastern approach. I suppose for all sorts of reasons, everybody comes to something at a different point in their life because they need something. And I needed a kind of structure that I believed in.
Would Michael have married you if you hadn't?
Oh, yes, he couldn't care less.
Felicity, as you entered middle age, you were still very much in demand. As Felicity reached her 40s, her acting career was reaching new heights.
She used this enormous success of The Good Life and went into the theatre at the highest level.
I didn't realise the merest sight of female flesh could whet your appetite.
For years, Felicity played some fantastic roles at the National Theatre, at the Old Vic. She's just done the most amazing track record in the theatre.
Her home life was happy too. She married second husband, Michael Rudman, a theatre director. And they had a son, Jacob. Back on television, Felicity's career choices were a world away from the innocent Barbara of The Good Life.
The Mistress, which was written for Felicity, was a light-hearted look at serious infidelity.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I don't mind. I don't mind anything. You can go back to your wife now. I've finished with you.
When they saw Felicity in racier, darker roles, I'm not sure that people really liked it.
It was against type for me. I thought, again, and the Mistress, come on now, please.
I think she was just blooming into her own sense of strong woman on camera.
Happy?
But just as things were hotting up for Felicity on screen, her personal life was plunged into intrigue.
Felicity was associated for a long time with the plays of Tom Stoppard. Tom Stoppard was the sort of towering figure of British playwriting.
There's a sort of logic to theatre, there's a kind of mathematics to theatre.
He was sort of saturnine, dark, gorgeous, incredibly clever.
It's a side of art which appeals to me very much.
At the time, Felicity was still married to Michael, and Tom Stoppard was married to Miriam Stoppard, the doctor and TV presenter.
As you've seen tonight, no problem has a single cause and there's no single answer.
But then life got more complicated.
Tom Stoppard and Felicity have been working together quite a lot.
He thought she was a great actress and she thought he was a great director.
They were pictured out together, very, very good, close friends. People were beginning to put two and two together.
Then in September 1990, Michael and Felicity separated. 3 months later, the Stoppards too split up. And before long, the word was that Tom and Felicity were now an item.
It was really one of the big showbiz stories.
Here you had this remarkable, brainy, attractive playwright with this remarkable, brainy, attractive actress. What's not to like?
Many in the media assumed that Tom and Felicity had left their partners to be together, and that ended 2 marriages. But Felicity has always denied the rumours, and Tom has never commented on them.
There were children involved, there were other people involved.
Journalists will always want to know the true story.
Felicity was in a situation that had some scandal attached to it. I just wished her to be happy and not too upset.
Right. Come on then, spill the beans.
What do you want to know, Piers?
You know what I want to know.
Well, you won't get it.
I might get it just by lack of answer.
By accident.
I mean, were you in love with him? Was it a love affair?
Sadly, we do have between us a kind of... It's almost written, but it's not exactly written in blood, that we don't talk about it. And I'll tell you the reason is that he is a very private person that chooses not to, and he's still around. And it's like a kind of decency code. You've heard of those, haven't you?
I've vaguely heard of them, yeah.
Vaguely.
Never really crossed my bridge too often, but...
Well, never mind, you can try it, it's new.
So it was love, right?
It's love all round, darling.
Are you still a good friend?
Including now. Oh, yes, absolutely.
You are?
Absolutely. The thing that's interesting, you see, to me, is that you find one particular thing interesting, but to me it's then no more interesting than any of the other stuff we've been talking
Actually, the only
about.
reason I find it that interesting is just the fact that it's remained, to many people, unanswered, whereas to me, I've always thought it's bleedingly obvious. I'm trying to pry out of you a confession.
You're OK, then, aren't you?
Yes, because I'm trying to pry out of you a confession to which I already know the answer.
Well, you don't need it then, darling. You can go home happy.
Let's turn to Michael, because you divorced him. As you say,
well, we divorced each other.
Right. It wasn't a divorce either of you felt massively into, you're sort of intimating.
I think what happens with some relationships is that you do get to a point when, before you divorce, your relationship and your attraction for each other has actually gone. I don't think we ever got to that. What we got to was that we were not getting on, and we misunderstood that. We stayed so close. I mean, you know, we went on holiday with Jacob 2 or 3 times a year. So we were always in family Christmases and things. So we kept in touch. And I can't remember when, maybe 2 years later or 3 years later, we just suddenly found, well, look, come on, let's move in together.
Who said it?
Oh, God, who knows after a glass of wine?
You haven't actually remarried?
No.
Why not?
Well, I sort of wanted to for a year, and then I thought, no, I can't. It's working. And we both feel that, look, we did it twice, and it really didn't work. So maybe there's some switch in our brains that just ruins everything as soon as we're married.
Did you call him your husband?
No, I call him my boyfriend.
So he used to be your husband?
He's my boyfriend.
Now he's your boyfriend?
Yeah.
Do you prefer that?
Well, it's different.
You couldn't just do it right now, right? Could you?
Well, I'm not going to.
Why not?
Because I've split my knickers.
How good an actress do you think you are?
I'm pretty good.
Do you have to have that kind of self-belief, do you think? Is that part of the battle?
Yes. Well, I mean, I think so.
I want to read you a list of names here. Judi Dench, Helen Mirren, Maggie Smith. You worked out the problem?
No.
Dame Judy, Dame Helen,
yes. Well,
Dame Maggie.
I'll tell you exactly.
Felicity.
Well, you have to wait, don't you? I'm not dead yet.
Do you hanker for a big movie role?
I used to. There was a period, probably 10 or 15 years ago, and I thought, oh, God. But I certainly don't now. I would...
Huh?
No, because...
You don't look at the Oscars every year and think, my speech is still there?
I really don't.
Have you written an Oscar speech?
No.
My theory is every actor's written one.
Well, I would be hard pushed because I didn't make a film. Where's Oscar going to come, you know?
If you did win one, who would you thank? And in what order?
I wouldn't thank God.
Why?
Because I don't think he's interested in Oscars.
Mr. Kendal, you've got it all. As her 7th decade dawned, Felicity proved that she was still sexy at 60.
She still looks absolutely gorgeous.
There are many women of half her age would like to look half as good as she does now.
So she goes on being an attractive, delicious person for people to follow and adore and lust after, and yet playing different sorts of parts.
I was sitting in the blue room taking my afternoon tea. It's a ritual of mine.
And in 2010, Felicity took part in Strictly Come Dancing and surprised viewers with her slinky moves.
I discovered something amazing. She was very bendy.
She did things that defy the human body. It was extraordinary.
The whole nation was surprised to see a woman like Felicity bending and splitting all over the floor.
Good for you, Foo.
Felicity showed she can bend it better than most women half her age. And now she's 66. Is it getting tougher for her to find the best acting roles?
Actresses quite rightly say when we get older, we get fewer and fewer parts.
Many women feel very much on the shelf and rejected because of their loss of good looks and physique. Not Felicity, because she hasn't lost anything at all.
Whatever is left for Felicity to achieve, if she wants to achieve it, she will. She is at the top of her profession still. She is incredibly well known and very talented.
Felicity's ageless. I can't remember how old she is now, but she'll still be at it when she's 90.
She will always be part of our lives. I think she'll go on forever, and probably longer than that.
This whole bendy thing.
I'm not doing it now.
Flexible Felicity.
Yes.
Does it apply to all aspects of your life, or
In what way?
any way you like? I mean, are you just very, very bendy?
Yes.
You've always have been?
Well,
Did you become bendy? I mean, what happens?
were you born bendy?
Yes.
That's a bendy baby.
You come out like that,
Very,
sorry.
very bendy baby you've got there.
Can you actually still do the splits?
You will have to have Vincent to do that holding.
I'm available.
I don't know. You get it difficult.
You couldn't
no,
just, you couldn't just do it right now, right?
I used to.
Could you?
Well, I'm not going to.
Why not?
Because I've split my knickers.
Your beauty. How
Beauty?
Yes, your beauty. How natural is it?
It's reasonably natural.
Yes.
I mean, there's a
Where
lot
are we
of
heading into the unnatural zone?
hard work.
That wasn't quite what I was getting at.
You're not
Any
going
visit
to
from
do
the
it.
old nip and tucks?
No.
No?
Can't you tell?
You look reasonably...
Good.
I think.
But
natural.
not, yeah.
But I wouldn't say 100%.
Really? That's a bit canny.
No, the reason I say that is because I know you've admitted to Botox.
Oh, I did.
So
But
if I'd
not
said 100%,
recently.
I
But
would
not
have
recently.
denied that knowledge to myself.
I wouldn't be able to frown, sadly.
I'm not sure you are.
Oh, don't. No, it's such a silly ass.
What, I mean,
No.
do you...
Oh, dear. No, I have done Botox, but that's usually because I was a little bit younger and I wanted to look younger. I've now come to the point where, apart from the bendy bit, and even that gets more difficult, you really have to sort of chill out and stay how you are, because otherwise you look silly, because where do you stop?
Now, you're most famous, I would say, for the husky voice that we all fell in love with on The Good Life. And there was always this moment in every show when you would say, "Oh, Tom." Can you say it?
Oh, Tom.
Yeah, no, what I want you to do is just make a guy who, from the age of 13, has followed your career with alarming interest.
He's getting alarming.
I would like to just end this with you looking me in the eyes and saying, changing the Tom, obviously, just giving me my moment.
It's going to be difficult without the Tom, because it's a different beat.
Just imagine. I look a bit like Richard Briers, I used to get told.
Oh, Piers.
Oh. One more time.
Oh, Piers.
Felicity Kendal.
Can you believe tomorrow will be the third live show? How quickly is it going when you're having fun and all that? Saturday night on ITV1, The X Factor. Make sure you tune in at 8:20 to hear Club Classics Week. Talking of classic, our movie after the news is Scarface. Al Pacino at his best at 10:35.